Okay. Um, I didn't make a very good job of uh, recording the last two sea days on Princess. We should have gone to Skagen in Denmark as the fourth port after Copenhagen, but they missed it due to bad weather. It didn't look all that bad when we were on the ship, but the cruise director gave a talk, which I'll come to in a second. And in that, he said that it wasn't so much that we couldn't get into Skagen, it was going to be getting us out again because there was a storm coming in and the sea forecast was something like 6 metre waves and relatively high wind. So the captain certainly didn't want to play that sort of game. So not unreasonably, they decided to miss it and have a gentle stroll back to Southampton. I think as far as that goes, they handled it very well. They sorted out some extra entertainment, extra talks and demonstrations and, extra quizzes, I suppose, and things like that, so that you didn't really notice that it was all, well, a lot of it was improvised last minute. But what should have been the actual sea day, that was better organised, as you might well imagine. So let's talk about our feelings about Sky Princess and Paul and Carol's group cruise in general. What did you think to the embarkation process?
On the whole, it was fine. It was the first time we've got on a cruise ship at Southampton, so I at least wasn't sure what to expect.
No.
To me, there was a little confusion finding where to drop the cases off, but everything else went through pretty smoothly after that.
I mean, that was the point, that on Princess, the decks have names as well as numbers. And that can be a little bit confusing because they go in opposite directions. So we were on deck 10, which was Carib deck, but deck 9 was Dolphin, and so on. So sorry, was deck 11 Dolphin? I can't remember, but it was basically these were the Princess doesn't particularly use deck numbers. So even when you were dropping the cases off, you had to know that C meant Carib or Caribe, Caribe. So you then had to understand, what it was and then work from there. It wasn't difficult to do. It's just it wasn't perhaps as easy as if it said deck, 9 or deck 10 or something. It was. We saw several people go, just go to a pod and be redirected, but it was all very good natured, very smooth, and it worked very well. When we got inside, the queue moved incredibly rapidly, and we were through the check-in in no time flat and queuing for security, and even that went pretty smoothly. So when we got on the ship, we got into the piazza area. The cabins weren't ready, so we had to pass some time until we were ready to go. We weren't really ready for much by way of lunch, so there was no point going to the buffet or anything for a snack, but we could have done with a coffee. And we were trying to get something, but we came up against a problem which we found over and over again, is that Sky Princess and presumably her sisters in the class are very much outward facing vessels. I've heard some people say they're inward facing. I'm not sure about that. What I mean is they are, perhaps it's a better way of saying, they're more designed for warmer climates than going to Norway and Denmark. so that when you go and the weather's nice outside and people are outside and sunbathing or watching movies under the stars and things like that, there's a massive screen on the pool deck. It's great. There's seating around, but when it turns cold and miserable, which it did on the way back, and almost everybody's inside, you can't get a lift for love nor money, and you can't get a seat for love nor money. And we had that right from the start because people were milling around in the piazza. And there's a little coffee shop called the International Cafe. They're very efficient. They knock coffees out very quickly. But it's what you do with them when you've got them. It was getting a chair was a perennial problem with that. When the cabins came available, we made our way up there to drop off our carry-on bags. And we were very impressed. Our steward, Darwin, introduced himself and he kept our cabin spick and span. But although some cases had turned up, ours hadn't.
Yours did.
What, straight away?
I don't know. It was a lot earlier than mine, though.
Well, that's what I was coming to. Yeah, mine turned up after a little while, which was fine. But because we were going from Southampton and you were basically handing the cases in to go, I don't know, 200 or 300 feet to get from the dockside to the ship, we really didn't think there was any particular need to split the clothing between the two cases. And we were, with the rest of Paul and Carol's group, booked into the Chelo dining room for 5:30 every night. And overall that worked well, but the first day we were panicking because it was getting closer and closer and closer. And I'd got something to put on, but Ruth didn't. And you weren't very happy about what you'd got available in your carry-on to, go into a main dining room, were you? In the end, Darwin sorted that out. He as we came out looking a bit worried, he said, "What's the problem?" Immediately picked up there was an issue. I said, "Well, everything's fine in the cabin, but one of the cases hasn't turned up, and we could do with it because I've got to go for a meal." He said, "Oh, okay." And I'll go and have a look. Anyway, 5 or 10 minutes later, there was a knock at the door, and he'd actually been and fetched Ruth's case for us. So, yeah, he was great, was Darwin. I thought the cabin was quite a nice space, the cabin itself.
It wasn't a great deal of space on the balcony for getting around, but I mean, it wasn't too much of a problem.
No,
but I mean the cabin itself was fine.
Yeah, no, the balcony is small. We had a balcony on Mirella Explorer last year, and we've had a balcony on Queen Mary 2 since, and they were both considerably bigger. I think the depth from the rail to the door is only about 5 feet, metre and a half, something like that. So it's tight. It's livable with, but it is tight. But the balcony is a nice. The cabin itself is a nice space. There's a cabin tour in this lot, of course, but the bathroom was good, and we were okay in there in terms of hanging space. The only issue is with having the open hanging space next to the bathroom, we found we had to bunch all the hangers together. If you let them sort of leave them slightly spaced out so they can move, if you got any kind of movement, the hangers would make a noise, which was quite irritating. Okay, food. Shall we start with food quality overall? What did you think of the food quality?
I thought it was okay.
Mm.
No problems with it.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, it wasn't the greatest food we've ever eaten, but it was certainly, plenty good enough. And the food in the Chelo dining room was pretty good. We ate quite a few meals in the marketplace, which is their buffet. It was a bit confusing because things seemed to be here, there, and everywhere, and some things were duplicated, and some things were on one side and not on the other, and up this aisle and not down that one. I didn't particularly like that. I preferred the ones on Morella, where it was much more linear, if you like, where each station had a particular style. This it didn't. I never quite got to grips with it all. I was always trying to find something. Getting hot drinks was absolutely bizarre. The marketplace is almost in two sections. There's a small bit and a big bit, and you've got stations where you've got coffee urns and cups and things, and you serve yourself. There is a specialty coffee place up in the marketplace, but that closes quite early on in the evening. In fact, a lot of the buffet closes quite early on in the evening, and you'll go in there, not all that late at night, and it's pretty much all barriered off. So that wasn't great. The cutlery could be a pain in the bum as well. On Morelli, you get cutlery as you go and pick your plate up, which you do at a lot of hotels. On Sky Princess, you had little U-section holders into which the staff put a number of, knife, fork, and spoon in a serviette and stacked them in there. But they simply couldn't keep up with the number of people that were on the ship. So you could find a table, but there was nothing to eat with. And then you'd be hunting around, nicking stuff from another table and that kind of thing, which you could do without. The Chelo dining room, though, that's a fixed time dining room. We had the early slot at, say, 5:30, which had been arranged so that anybody who wanted to, in Paul and Carol's group, there were 170 of us in total, could go in and eat together. There was nothing compulsory about it. You could go and do your own thing. We ate in there every night. We weren't allocated a table, but in effect, we ended up on the same table every night. The same wait staff looked after the entire group all the way through the trip, and they were really very good, weren't they? Very, very attentive, and they started to get to know you, what you liked, and they could start to sort of pull your leg a little bit, which I quite liked. In fact, there was one waitress up in the buffet. She was a little devil for pulling my leg. I didn't mind. I mean, it's all part of it for me. But I do wonder sometimes whether when they do that, how do they know that it's not going to, people aren't going to complain? So yeah, the Chelo, the quality of the food in there was pretty good. It could have been warmer. I think that's about the only thing. It could come out. It was warm enough, but sometimes only just warm enough. Yeah, we have watched people dance on the Mirella ships. We went on Discovery and on Explorer, and we saw people dance. There was nothing particularly organised, but we saw people dancing down in the bottom of the atrium every night, and we thought we'd quite like to do that. It was never something we'd never done, but we decided to go and get ballroom dancing lessons so we could do it. And we were told that, yes, Princess organises dancing. That's strictly true, but they don't do it very well, I have to say. It was in, what was the name?
The Vista
Lounge.
Lounge.
That's right. And the floor space in the Vista Lounge is extremely small. It's D-shaped for a start, so it's not ideal for dancing on. And if you had more than about 4 couples dancing, you were completely wasting your time for any kind of ballroom, especially when one couple one night were just going to go and do their thing and everybody else get out of the way, which doesn't help at all. But unlike Morella, where the people were dancing to the live music in the bottom of the atrium, on Princess it was taped and they didn't vary the music as well as I thought they could have done. So you would just get a sign that said waltz, and you would get 2 waltzes, and then 2 cha-cha-chas, 2 tangos, 2 sambas, and so on. So it to me, that did not work very well.
It didn't help that we only know 2 dancers.
Oh, no, that didn't help. We're not very experienced dancers, to say the very least, but
it would have been better in a way if they went through it, one waltz, one cha-cha, one tango, whatever, and then repeated a bit later on.
Yes, and they did that on at least 2 occasions, and when we went back, and it was just the same tape being played again. So they were going through the motions rather than actually doing it in my book. Now then, the entertainment. We love going to the theatre in the evenings. And it was quite mixed. Morella, I think, do a better job. Their productions may not be as technically advanced because Princess's presentations, they were technologically really advanced. But Morella do more, and they don't repeat, whereas Princess, you get the same. If you're on for 2 weeks, you'll get the same shows each week.
Apparently they can do the same show for several years.
Yes. You might go back on the same ship the following year and it'll be exactly the same, which is not great. The argument is it's so technologically advanced, it needs so much equipment and set and all the rest of the nonsense that it costs so much to set it all up and get it on board the ship that they want to get the money's worth out of it. But the big Broadway shows, we had 3 of those, they varied enormously. The first one we saw, Spotlight Bar, was really good. Really, really good. We enjoyed that. The only problem was the sight lines to the stage on some of the wing seating, you lose quite a lot of the stage. And we couldn't see, we were sat on the right-hand side. We actually lost the whole of the right-hand side of the stage because they weren't presenting from the front outwards. They were in a set of a bar, and there was something, going back from that corner of the stage that we never actually saw. But that was a really good production. Everybody came out sort of really buzzing and enjoying that. And then a couple of nights later, they had Let's Dance, and that's a well-known one. And everybody said, people that knew Princess said, oh yeah, you got to go and see that. That's really good.
Wasn't that rock opera?
Oh, is it rock opera? Oh, sorry,
so.
not Let's Dance, rock opera. You're quite right, Ruth. And that was pretty good. I didn't think it was as good as Spotlight Bar because it was a parade of musical interludes, if you like, whereas Spotlight Bar had a story. The third one was called Five Skies. And to us, it was the weakest. At least I thought it was.
It was very spectacular.
Yes.
Yeah, but that was about it.
Yeah.
Really, the way it was
It
done.
was very spectacular. It was, if anybody knows the film Tron, where somebody gets pulled into a video game, it's that kind of thing. It was if a video game came to life, what it would be like inside it. And the idea was that each scene was a different level and so on. But I don't think everybody we talked to in the group that saw it sort of said, yeah, it was technologically very good. It was a spectacle, but it wasn't entertaining. It didn't grip you. There was nothing there to get hold of. It was as if they said, how can we make this look absolutely fabulous? And there was no meat in the sandwich, if that's perhaps the best way to put it.
Yeah.
What were the other?
It was Odyssey.
Oh, yes, my word. Yeah, the first night we had an excellent group called Odyssey, ODY space C. And they were a 4-piece, 2 guys, 2 girls, and a drum kit. And they did everything a cappella. And they were extremely good. So we enjoyed those. They did another set later in the week in the Vista Lounge, and that was good. The Medallion worked for us, didn't it? The Medallion in the app, we didn't have any problem with that at all. Didn't make enormous use of it. We did on one occasion when we were gagging for a coffee and we couldn't find a seat anywhere near the International Cafe. So we wandered around, found a seat somewhere, and used the app to call up 2 coffees. And it came within about 10 minutes because I'm not surprised by that. I think that was actually quite good because the International Cafe at that point was really busy, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well,
So,
from what we could see, yeah.
Yeah, I know in the early days the Medallion didn't work half the time, but for us it worked. It worked pretty well. Once in a while it was a bit slow opening the cabin door. It was sort of, it would recognise the Medallion, but then it seemed to need a little bit of time to actually get through to the database to open the door for us. Oh yeah, finally, we had the Plus package. There are 3 levels on Princess. There's the basic, where basically your cabin and all the fundamentals. So you get your cabin, you get your main dining room and the buffet and things like that. And you pay everything else as you go. With Plus, I think you get quite a lot, and it comes out as value for money for us because you get decent Wi-Fi for one item, but you can change it over. So I use my phone and my iPad, and you use your phone and your tablet, and it was dead easy. We initially I was struggling a bit to change it over, but I was shown how to do that, and it's actually a doddle. We don't drink a lot. We drink a lot of coffees. So the fact you could go and get a coffee and it was free, that worked very well for us. So I think for us,
gratuities.
Gratuities, and they can soon add up. So your daily gratuities, any service charges, and all that kind of thing were all included. There were some things that I thought were OTT. There's this special premium desserts, which are basically posh cakes and ice cream sundaes, Knickerbocker glory type things. And you're allowed each 2 a day. We had 2 in a week. I didn't think they were all that special.
No, they were okay.
They were okay, but they weren't that special. But I wouldn't want 2 a day. Even 1 a day, really. So that's a bit of a gimmick. Didn't try the cakes, but I've heard they're not the greatest. And again, you were queuing for those and trying to find somewhere to stand or sit to eat them. So seating came up over and over again. Would we go with Princess again? Yes, we are doing, not until 2027. This was booked for Paul and Carol Love to Travel's first group cruise, open group cruise. And they're doing their second in 2027, and this time it's on Majestic Princess, and we've booked for that. And again, we've gone plus. And we didn't have a second thought about going to plus this time. Having experienced it, we thought it was more than good enough. I hope this time we'll be able to book some specialty dining. The problem was we were doing it through their group unit rather than booking it directly online, and it meant there was a delay in getting our payment records updated on the app. So by the time I was able to try and book dining on the app before we went, there was nothing left for any of the nights, which was a blessed nuisance. But never mind, we worked all right. The Chelo dining room was fine, and I didn't feel the need to change. So that is our review of Sky Princess.